Welcome back. By now, I hope you've practiced all the basic ways of getting paint onto your paper. But there's one more thing I think we should talk about: how to not put any paint on our paper. Negative painting has nothing to do with our attitude. Keeping a positive attitude is obviously crucial for us as we work in watercolor. But rather, negative painting has to do with being aware not just of the positive shape we're creating with the pigment as our brush moves across the paper, but what the shape is that we're leaving behind, what the shape is of the paper that we have not painted on. It sort of reminds me of that old optical illusion of a wine goblet, where if you look at it carefully in a different way, you can see two profiles of faces looking at each other. So negative painting is a really fun way to add some visual interest in our paintings. It gives us a chance to paint snow, or maybe a fence, or maybe it's just leaving a lot of negative space around our pigment in a sort of vignette so that it draws our viewer's eye into where we've put a lot of pigment in the center of our paper. So let's give it a try. Let's see if we can do a negative painting here. I think it'll make it pretty clear if we simply use the idea of snow and a mountain range. If I were to make a little sketch of my negative painting, or my snow on the mountain painting, I would have the mountains maybe 1/3 of the way up. I'd have some sky. I might have some other hills and some darker foreground trees. But the mountains themselves, I won't paint. I'm just going to have those be the white paper. Let's give it a try. I'm going to put a little bit of clean water up at the top to help me get this flowing a little bit. And I'm going to just use my ultramarine, get a creamy puddle going. And now, as I paint this sky, I have to keep in mind actually the shape of the mountains down below. Now, in some ways, that means I had to kind of have my brain think about this a little bit differently. It's a little bit of an optical illusion. What these points are here is the top of the mountains, and I've put the sky there to show you. I had to think about where that line was going to be. Now, to make that easier for yourself, go ahead and use a pencil. It's not a big deal to put a pencil line in there if that helps you sort of think about it. I think I'm going to put some foothills up by these mountains, something like that maybe. And then finally, maybe some darker trees in the front, so in the closest to me. Closer objects to me are going to be darker, and this is going to help us sort of see that what we've created here is a mountain landscape, but the mountains have snow on them. And the way I painted that snow was by not painting it. It's very zen, right? So play around with the idea of making a little mountain landscape where you've left the white paper to tell people about those snow-capped peaks. So I let this negative painting of the snow-capped peaks dry, and as I come back to it, I realized I don't want to leave you with the impression that you just have one chance to make this work. I could come back in now. This is really glazing. I'm putting another color over those first layers of paint. And I could certainly come back with some more pigment and do some things in this foreground, or I could go back up into this snow and make it a little bit more realistic, because it's just, right now, it's so flat. It's just such a flat surface of white that I think it might be helpful if I come back and touch into it a little bit with a little bit of light blue. I think I'm going to put a few marks up here in these mountains, which lets you know that there's actually cliffs and rocks and slopes and snowfields. And that can be sometimes indicated by putting a little bit of shading into the tree, and just thinking about how it's not, when your eye looks at that photograph or that mountain in front of you, that it sees a lot of shadowy areas. It sees spots up there that are not just pure white. And so by the time I touch this up a little bit, it's probably going to look a little bit more realistic. But it's still the technique that I didn't paint where the snow is, and that's what provides the interest in this painting. So there you have it. I think you'll find that leaving some white space, leaving some negative areas of just clean white paper will make your paintings have wonderful contrast. I know it might seem difficult to be really careful to preserve that white paper, but there are actually some tricks to make it a lot easier, like using tape or masking fluid. Those are things I'll cover in a later lesson in further experiments. Now we have all the building blocks we need to do a painting. We're ready to move on. In the next section, we'll talk about what makes a painting really work, what makes it successful. See you there. Hi, I'm Bob. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you'll go by my website at watercolorwithbob.com. That's where you'll find an interactive outline of the whole course. You can also share your work with me and your fellow students. One thing I really love about watercolor is how accessible it is. That's why I realized it was important to me to put this course out for free. That said, it would mean the world to me if you would support this work. You can like it, you could share it with your friends, you could subscribe to the channel, you could also visit the gift shop or even make a donation. Thanks so much. See you on the next lesson, and happy painting. Oh, nice one, Bob. Oh.